Hi, I'm Chef Jen, and welcome back to our second wine dinner of 2021. Of course, we did a bunch last year with Jen and Beth and the whole Rioja family. So we're here today, and we're going to do Portugal, the second Portugal dinner, and this one is all about new frontiers. And what does new frontiers mean with Portugal and wine? What does that mean?
Portugal's been around for a long time, and winemaking in Portugal since, Phoenicians, we go way back in history. But there are a lot of cutting edge, dynamic winemakers right now that aren't afraid to try new things and also pay great respect to the old ways in some new ways. So we're going to talk a little bit about them.
Yeah, so I think this will be fun. And hopefully if you joined us our last wine dinner, this will be really fun and different. So a couple of things, just housekeeping things. Always have you guys temper your ingredients and put your ingredients out. This time, you guys had a little bit of things some things were in the freezer. We have some basil ice cream and a little granita. Leave those in the freezer, please. Don't take those things out. There's also a little dry goods package. And you'll need to have some oil. So you'll need to put some oil on the stove, first thing. And that's gonna be for frying our bacalhau later on. So I'd like you to start. I have a small pot here because we're not frying a lot, but anytime you are frying anything, you want to have a couple inches of room for that oil to boil up at you, so you don't make a big mess. Okay, so
what kind of oil, Jen?
I like to use canola oil. That's a great question. Something vegetable neutral oil that's high heat. A peanut oil is fine too. And peanut oil, industrial peanut oil for frying has been stripped of all of its allergens, so you don't have to worry about peanut allergies with peanut oil in that manner.
Most people don't know that.
Yeah,
I think that's really
important. In the process of them doing that, it's a long story. But anyways, so we're gonna put a pot of water on for our pasta, and then I have a couple other pans out. I have turned my stove on. I just turn my home stove to 425 with the convection going. And then if you are new, we have everything color coded by course, and you have some home cooking instructions. And so for our first course, we're having orange dot. And so
sounds delicious.
I know, orange dot. But let's taste the wine, because this is gonna go fast on this one, because this is almost all done, this salad. And I want, as you're talking about the wine, I'm gonna plate the food and talk about a little bit, I'll interject with you, but this one is kind of pretty much ready to go. Another thing I would say on watching a video, watching it twice is always kind of cool. Also, if you just want to watch the video and then go back and cook it later, that's also totally fun too, because you just fast forward through it and the cooking things. Anyway, so.
Okay, so we're starting off with Mazanita Douro. So there's a brother and sister team, Antonio and Joanna Mazanita, who are both really exciting, fascinating winemakers. And Joanna started a project in the Douro, which is the world's oldest designated winemaking region, historically known for making port. So think about the heat. This is commonly one of the hottest parts of the entire Iberian Peninsula. However, New Frontiers, Joanna is working with beautiful vineyard sites, but also looking for freshness, which is not a word that often is spoken when you're talking about wines from the Douro. Mm-hmm. So all native yeasts, very hands-off winemaking. It's easy to think, like, what does she do? And that's the point. She works very hard to get out of the way. And she goes out and finds vineyards and growers who she really believes in with great quality wine, grapes, for this type of wine, which ironically are not the most sought after when you're making port.
Yes, yeah.
As your finished product. Yeah. So she's able to bring some revenue to these small growers who have beautiful vineyards and are doing really the right thing, sustainable farming whenever they can, and wants to make sure with an eye on the future that these farmers' children see a future, so that they can stick around, so that she can keep making these wines. So she often sort of raises the price on them. She'll say, how much do you want for your grapes? They name a number, she names a slightly higher number and says, let's sign a project for a little longer, keep doing what you're doing so that I can keep doing what I'm doing. Yeah. So both good karma, awesome to support female winemakers. Mm-hmm. She is one of the most contagious, fascinating personalities And so I'm thrilled to taste this, but freshness in the Douro, not common things. So cheers, Mazanita Branco. Great texture and weight, always.
Yes.
But also really
And you can
bright
taste
and uplifted.
the sunshine. I say that.
You can taste the sunshine.
But I think you can taste the
Well,
sunshine.
you really can. I mean,
Yeah.
the color of it is so pretty and just really bright.
So when I tasted this, I kind of fell in love with crisp green apple. Not just
Yes.
apple, but crisp green apple.
Yeah.
And also crisp fennel. And so what I thought we could do, Jen and Beth, and see if you guys like what we've done here, is kind of have a textures and flavor of apple and fennel in many different ways.
Oh,
So
fun.
yeah, so I'm going to start off with some Greek yogurt. You know, I know that's not apple or fennel, but we're going to start off with a little bit of Greek yogurt, and we're just going to put a little. Yeah, but we
Kind of
need
some
some of
creamy
that,
richness.
but also that tang too. You know that the Greek yogurt gives. So we're going to give that a little swoosh on there, or whatever you want to call that. Then we've made an apple puree, and this apple puree is just green apples and a lot of the apple skin
Wow.
and a little apple juice. And we blended this with a little kale because I wanted it to be a really pretty dark green, and then you get a little more extra veggies in there. And then this oleo estepa, this Spanish olive oil, is super important on here. It really needs the fat. So we're going to drizzle that olive oil right between those two lines. And the yogurt's unseasoned, so I've given you Maldon salt, and I want you to sprinkle that Maldon salt in particular on the yogurt. Everything will need a little bit of salt, but the yogurt in particular, I think. And then you're going to take a little bit more of that extra virgin. You're going to drizzle it on. We have fennel fronds and shaved fennel in here, and I like to take the fennel tops also. And then we have fennel pollen.
Ooh.
Yeah,
love
so a
that.
little fennel
You
pollen.
did this on one of the earlier meals last year, and I remember just being thrilled with it.
And a
So
little
fun.
salt, yeah. So I'm just gonna kind of mix this up in here and get that fennel pollen all around. Yeah, and it is a delicious, really nice flavor. Chester loves it. Okay, if you're new, Chester, one of my dogs, the other dog is locked upstairs barking at us. So in case you hear it in the background. Okay, so we'll put the salad on here.
This plate is so artistic.
Yeah, and well, so with a couple of the courses doing New Frontiers, we thought we'd be a little bit more avant-garde with the food as well.
I love
Oh, Gabe, can you get out the granita? Oh, thank you
can.
so much. He already did. Look at, and he's already reading my mind. If you haven't met Gabe, he's awesome. So here's a beautiful little perfect brunoise of fennel and apple
Oh,
that we've done. And again, we've kind of taken all this knife work and just made some stuff really pretty. So again, I think the whole fun idea of having a really fancy meal at home, but you don't have to leave home, has been something that we've been having a great time with.
This would
Dehydrated.
impress me.
Oh,
This would
good.
impress me. All the knife work, all the beautiful. That's gorgeous.
you don't have to leave
Patience.
home, and you don't have to sit there and mince perfectly sized
No,
cheese.
you don't. So a little
Wow.
apple chips and then a little phyllo. And the phyllo has fennel pollen in it too. All right. And then the last thing, because this is a very fancy dish, is we've made a fennel frond granita. So a shaved ice. So
Wow.
really fun. And now the thing that I think is great when you eat this salad together is you're going to get all these temperatures and textures. So definitely you two, when you go try this, you got to try all the flavors and textures. And I'm going to turn this plate around so you guys can see it out here. But I think this is a really beautiful plate.
It's gorgeous.
So, and Jen, you'll just have to tell me what you think if we did Antonia and the whole winery, if we did them proud. Okay? And let's turn that around
They will be jealous.
right
I can
here
tell you that.
with that. And then you guys can
That's
try this.
Gorgeous.
Wow.
Isn't that fancy?
This is not
pretty.
exactly I'll have the salad to start.
Yes, it's not exactly, yeah. Yeah.
I
Wow.
love it though because it's so fresh and bright and beautiful.
It's really gorgeous. It always seems like such a shame, doesn't it?
I know. It's just fresh.
No, you have to just do it, Jen. You can't be shy about this, Jen.
Yes, sir.
A little for Chester. I'm trying to stay on his good side. Okay, a little bit of everything. So I got the cream, I got the olive oil, got plenty of fennel, and now granita, and then
Apple.
perfect mince, perfect cubes.
I know it's not beautiful. I don't have the patience. These guys always make it look so easy.
Okay.
Whoa.
Right? And the granita, so fun.
I've been looking
Get
forward
this
to this dish.
explosion. You get like
Good, it just started melting,
Yes.
so cold up front, and
so it kind of almost
salt.
shocks you a little bit.
but that's really fun to have the granita happening and then crunch into a bit of Malden.
Mm-hmm.
And the olive oil is really jumping out to me right now.
And the yogurt.
Mm-hmm.
I think the yogurt really helped tie it all together.
I think so too. Well, provides that sort of base, that richness, and like you said, some tang.
The crunchy.
And this wine really is
So what do you?
apple, fresh apple, juiced apple, crunching, biting into an apple
Okay.
out of the refrigerator now. It seems
So
like
what
it's
do
a
you
cold
think?
apple. I
Do you-
think it's beautiful.
Do you like
I
the
love-
pairing with it?
I love the pairing.
Okay.
I love that the olive oil brings a whole different element to this
Yes.
dish. It ties everything together.
It does. I want to taste the olive oil by itself because olive oils can have such distinctive flavors by themselves too.
I like it for the temperature.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I love about it, and I didn't know how much I loved shaved fennel like this.
I know, right?
It's so pretty.
Right.
That
Well,
yogurt
awesome.
really is a brilliant touch too.
Isn't it? And it was funny because our chefs, we work on these things together because that's how we come up with the best thing is when all of our minds get together on it, as opposed to just me or just Gabe or just Adam or somebody. So, okay, awesome. Okay, so well, I'm gonna get some stuff ready for the next course, but bacalao.
Ooh.
So salt cod in Spain and in Portugal, I feel like the continent, the country was built on salt cod. Like, I feel like without salt cod as a
Absolutely.
base for how people got around and ate, like it wouldn't
Sure.
happen. I don't know if that's a thing or not, but I feel that way.
And a necessity,
It's been on many tables for many centuries, and they've really perfected the style, that haven't they? There's fresh, and then there's salt, and it's never. I used to be really intimidated by bacalao because I thought it was just gonna taste like
Right.
dry, salty, kind of dry, smushy
And if
fish.
you don't know what you're doing, it could.
Right.
Right?
But I've always been. It's actually very delicate, and the salt
Yes.
is never overpowering in a lot of the way that a lot of other foods are preserved using salt. They don't get overpowered by it or overwhelmed, and it can be so delicate. So I can't wait to see how you've made it.
Well, what we've done, so a lot of the Portuguese kinds of dishes, as opposed to the Spanish ones, have salt cod with hard-boiled eggs, with olives, with onions, and things like that. But I wanted to make, again, maybe a twist on it. So I wanted to take all those flavors. And, March I got wild spring onions in, and they're beautiful. And I put, grilled wild spring onions, I put that in. And instead of potato, I put sunchoke in.
Ooh.
So instead of roasting potato, a lot of times potato is the base of a lot of these salt cod dishes because it kind of needs something to soak all that up. And I did sunchoke. So I've made these little kind of fritters or balls of salt cod here, and I've given you guys tempura batter. And we have all the dry mixes here. But what we're gonna do is we're just gonna get a fork, and I'm gonna have Gabe put a little bit of just cold water from the tap in here, and we'll show you how thick. I'll mix it over the fire here. Oh, thanks, Katie.
Jen, when you get a chance, can you expand on the sunchoke? People always ask.
Oh, yes.
There you go.
Sunchokes are the root of the sunflower seed plant, sometimes called the Jerusalem artichoke. And they have a beautiful sunflower seed type taste and flavor. They look kind of dark brown on the outside. They don't look like much, like a little rock or a dirt ball,
How big
And then
are
you,
they?
yeah,
They're pretty big.
Oh.
maybe like a ginger nub size. But
Oh,
ginger
wow.
can get bigger, but
But not at all like
uh,
artichoke size. I never knew
no,
that.
not
So
as-
thanks
yeah.
for telling us.
Yeah, I mean, some of them are as small as this, some of them are as big as this,
Wow.
And so I've made some chips, and we can see the brown on the outside, and that's kind of a fun thing. So that'll come on the dish later. So I want to say, Gabe has been checking this oil, and so on the stovetop shot right here, we have the oil at about 325. Now, if you guys don't have a thermometer at home, most people do, I'm just gonna show you a little trick on testing oil. And I learned this from the Japanese. And this oil is a little bit hotter, so when you drop a little bit of the tempura batter in here, and the tempura went down and up really fast. It needs to go down and up a little bit slower.
Oh.
That is so interesting.
Yeah, I mean, so I love to teach people ways to do things when your thermometer breaks or when something happens. So we'll turn this off, and actually just by turning
Does
it
that
off,
mean it's too hot?
It's at 350, and it's a little too hot, but it's not. Do you see how they're not burnt? You see when you look at this, they're light brown, so it's only a smidge too hot.
Huh.
The tempura didn't get brown that fast, so we're okay. But by me putting in these, I'm gonna drop the temperature oil really fast.
Oh.
So it's okay in this small little area because I don't have a big pot like a deep fryer at our kitchen. We have this huge vat of oil, and that's what it keeps the oil hot. You drop French fries in, it keeps it hot. It's really important to keep that so it doesn't absorb oil. So what I'm going to do is take a fork, and I'm going to take our little bacalao balls here. I know, it sounds kind of funny.
Just fun to say.
And I'm going to drop them in. I'm going to turn this back on low because knowing what I do know that it'll drop the temperature this fast. So I'm going to ask Gabe to help me here. But basically, we're going to cover them. We'll coat them in the tempura, and then we'll let it drip a little bit, and then we'll set this in. I'll hold it for a second before I drop it off my fork. If I drop it in right away, it will stick to the bottom of the pot, and that's okay. It's not going to be the end of the world, but it just will stick to the bottom of the pot, you know.
So you sort of
So
cook
we
the
just
batter
need to-
a little before you drop it.
Yeah, so we just need to hold it up. So
Seals it in.
we'll just let those 3 go,
That's such great tricks.
and then we'll learn, and then put the next 3 in.
Uh-huh.
And because we have a small pot, normally the pot that I have the water in, that would have been probably a better sized pot to put your oil in. But I'm trying to get everything in one sitting for you guys. So what kind of wine are we going to have with bacalao today?
Wow. This one I sort of just had to include. It's a little bit of old classic and a little bit of new frontiers.
Okay.
But I'll call it new frontiers because the winemaker sort of stumbled into winemaking on accident. Marta is our winemaker here at Casal Figueira, and they're in Lisbon. So if you imagine the Atlantic Ocean runs into Portugal, and right on the coast you have Lisbon, or very close to the coast. Then there's sort of a quarter pipe of a mountain that goes right up off of Lisbon, and perched about halfway up that mountain are some vineyards of a grape called Vital,
Vital.
like vital. And it's not, it's an indigenous grape to Portugal. There's very little left. It's often blended in.
Wow.
To our knowledge, this is the only 100% Vital in the world. And Martha's husband.
Didn't we go to the vineyard?
We
Yeah.
were there.
I just love
Yeah.
going
It was
there.
emotional.
There's a
Okay.
bittersweet story.
Yeah.
There's
Yes.
a very bittersweet story. So Martha's husband was dedicated to biodynamic agriculture, so very close in tune with the moon cycles and the watering and all the work you do in the vineyard according to the cycle of the plant. Martha is an artist
Yes.
and was supporting him, but they came to this area because he was so passionate about this grape, and of course she shares his passion. Well, a few years into the project, he suddenly passed away during harvest, completely unexpected, and she's left with half-harvested vineyards. They're not theirs. They're sort of renting access. They've become very close with the people in the village because they've been meeting the people who own these vineyards so that they can sign longer contracts,
Sure.
like I was saying with
Absolutely.
Joanna Mazanita. Anyhow, he passed away, and she decided in honor of his memory she wanted to finish the vintage. And not only did she finish the vintage, she continued making the wine, and it's called Antonio in his
I
honor.
love that.
I know.
Like,
And she was just
Um,
such a beautiful soul. When you meet her and you meet people that you could tell their light shines from them or something. I'm
it
being
was
corny
so
right
great.
now, but I
it was
feel
not
that way.
It is
dry
corny.
eye.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
no.
was not a dry
Yeah.
eye when she was telling us this story. It was
Well, and it's also
amazing.
inspirational because, well, and so it's so bittersweet, but also inspirational because the community rallied around her and helped her figure out how to do this. And so New Frontiers, well,
Pretty
I suppose
amazing.
this does fit in because this is all New Frontiers for
Absolutely.
her. This is years and years ago now, and you know she's really very in tune with this art. She's come to it by accident, but she's really got a beautiful talent for winemaking. So this is her Casal Figueira Antonio Branco, and the grape is Vital. So I always get kind of like a salted poached pear flavor in this wine. It's got that grape mineral.
It's
It is
big.
coastal, but up high, it's
Yeah.
quite big. All sustainable agriculture again, and another winemaker that just tries to get out of the way and let the fruit do the talking. So we couldn't do Portugal and not talk about Antonio.
definitely
Yes.
not. I mean, special place in all of our hearts for sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's another reason I
And our bellies.
Yes.
It's delicious.
You want to get these a nice deep golden brown, and they're crunchy on the outside. You know, they're nice and hard on the outside. You don't need to salt these. because there's still enough salt in there. And you know, it's interesting, we get this, you can salt your own cod, you can make that, or we buy some really nice Portuguese salt cod. And what we do at the restaurant is we first soak it in milk.
Oh, yeah.
And then we pull it out of the milk, we soak it again in a new batch of milk. And so we do this 3 times over 3 days. And it pulls some of the stuff out of it, you know, some of the salt out of it too.
It draws. And does it?
Yeah, and then we poach it very slowly in that milk too. And I just kind of fleck the pieces of cod up. And then we just kind of paddle it with roasted sunchokes, these grilled spring onions, olive oil. A good amount of olive oil is inside there. So this is not low calorie.
Are you using the same olive oil that you drizzled or a little bit different?
The same that we drizzled. You have to be careful because olive oil can get too dominant too.
Yeah,
so you gotta be careful with olive oil, you know. Okay, so we have these beautiful fried fritters. The olive component that I was telling you, there's also hard-boiled eggs mixed in here. Sorry.
Oh, perfect.
So the hard-boiled eggs, the onions, the olive, they're all in this. The olive is in our beautiful aioli that we've made. So we're just gonna put a little olive aioli down. And when I say little, these are, I never say that, cornicabra. Adam, how do you say that correctly? Cornicabra, right? Those
Olives.
Spanish olives. So, sorry.
Delicious.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I think
it's just
You
delicious.
said it great.
Yeah. So I use those types of olives, which is different than a niçoise. It's not like a Greek. You can see the light color.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I was asking.
It's a black olive, but more like a pale brownish purplish, you know?
Yeah.
Oh,
And it's
yeah.
a softer flavor. The brine is nice. You get the olive flavor. And then what I've done here is I've taken the same wild spring onion bottoms and I've pickled them.
Oh.
So this is going to be, you know, salty and fatty. We fried this, and there's olive oil in it. You need to relieve the palate. We need some pickly and some preserved lemon maybe in here. So we have some lemon confit in here, and we have this pickled spring onion, which I think is a really nice compliment. Chester also really likes it. And actually, I misspoke. This is not preserved lemon. This is just lemon confit.
Oh,
so I
nice.
misspoke
Okay,
because the
perfect.
preserved lemon is salty. So this we literally we peel lemons and we take a little lighter simple syrup and we put them in the pressure cooker
I
for
love that.
3 or 4 minutes.
What? Minutes.
And that's it. They're perfect every time.
4 minutes.
Amazing.
Okay, now if you don't have a pressure
Pressure
cooker, a slight little
Yeah.
pot at home. Now, so we garnish with these sunchoke chips, which are super important. Okay, and so here, you just gotta try a chip on its own because they're so
So
good.
delicious.
Okay, now I know this plate looks kind of austere, but I love its austerity. I love how it is what it is, you know? So, and aren't those just the yummiest kind of flavor? I gave Matthew a big bowl of them yesterday to take home because they're so good.
Lucky
I
Matthew.
actually saved them for
Right.
myself. I said, can you please take these home so I don't eat them all? And just you eat them and then you'll save me from myself, you know? Okay, all right,
Wow.
so let's,
They do have
here.
kind of an artichoke
I was gonna say, let's
flavor
switch
and
it.
and a sunflower.
They do like
Let's have
kind of a
you
little
guys
nutty.
taste-
Yeah, they're delicious.
yeah, let's have you guys taste this guy and then I'll make this other one.
That's
So the
pretty.
shot. So why don't we taste this? And
Got you.
of course, get all the stuff in there.
Yeah.
And Gabe's got
This is
some more right
amazing.
here.
Priming my palate.
Right?
Yeah. Perfect. And this is just for the photo, baby. These
Wow.
are great. Perfect. And of course, you guys, if you're listening, turn that oil off. Let that oil cool fully down on your stove. Don't try to do anything with it so it's fully cooled. And you can reuse that oil if you want to fry something again at home, you guys. You can absolutely reuse that oil.
Do you save it afterwards, Jen?
I
or
do. I
just-
strain it and save it if it's nice and clear. And again, it's more of an avant-garde than a typical Portuguese bacalhau. You know, I definitely took some French techniques of brandade and did that.
It's just beautiful though, and the texture of the little bacalhau ball,
Mm-hmm.
all the way through, you've got everything perfectly sized, and it all just really melds
So
together.
how does it go with the wine?
It really brightens that wine up.
Is it great with
It
it?
really brightens it up.
Okay.
Right, that
Yes.
olive and the wine play really well together.
Interestingly, the wine, I'm getting more fruit on the wine.
Yeah.
Now that I'm having it with the food. Beforehand, it was a lot, I always get fruit,
Absolutely.
but there's more salt.
Mhm.
And now that there's food introduced, because the food is taking the place of the salt, I'm picking up on more of the fruit of the wine. It really does, like you said, it brightens it up.
I forget, how far from the ocean was this? I can't remember, Jen.
On a clear day, you can see the ocean.
Okay, because I feel like when I
remember-
tasted it, I was tasting this briny. I felt like there was a briny quality
Well,
to
there's
it. And
there's salt in the wind, right? And so
Right.
you would have been smelling that too. But well, and think about the tectonics and uplift. You're right by the sea, so the soils are also made up of a lot of the seafloor.
Right.
This is really, really wonderful, and
Okay.
it's one of the most delicate expressions of bacalao I've had. The flavor is still really there. It's a beautiful fish, but it's definitely got quite a lot of flavor, and I love the way that the egg goes with it, and the sunchoke, everything.
Okay, good. I love it. Okay, so our next course is a couple other things that I think are kind of Portuguese classics. This is the green dot, and this is going to be clams and linguiça. Clams and pasta and linguiça. And we have one of our chefs, Quinn. He makes sausage and he makes some beautiful linguiça. It is a pork sausage, this particular one. You can make it out of different meat if you like. We have made lamb linguiça and things like that before. But we have some really nice things we're gonna start off with. So what we've done, and I'll just show you guys, you should have some beautiful tortellonis that we filled with the sausage, 3 per order. And then Manila clams or Venus clams, depending on the nice quality our purveyor has. We have oven-dried tomatoes, some peppers that we've kind of pickled ourselves. They're sweet peppers, but we've kind of pickled them ourselves. More of the grilled spring onion tops. Garlic, oil, and fried rosemary. We think this is really important to this dish. So this one will kind of go on the stovetop. Okay, so the first thing we should do is put our linguiça tortellas in the water. And this is a pork sausage. It's raw. It should take about 3 to 5 minutes to cook. How you'll know is give them a little squeeze. Right now, if you squeezed it, it was just going to squeeze through. It'll kind of bounce back. You know, it'll get firm when it's done. So we'll put those on there. And our other pan that we have a little bit of oil in, we're going to put our garlic in, okay? So we're going to start by cooking our garlic. And we're going to get a little bit of color on here. But I do want you guys to be careful that you don't brown your garlic. So your pan wasn't on high. So I have mine on kind of low right now. I will turn it up later. You also want to have a lid handy because we're going to steam open these clams. Clams are still alive. You give them a tap. If one is open, you give it a little tap. If it closes, then it's alive. So clams go in. Broth goes in. Lid goes on. And we will let those clams steam open. Okay? So these guys can be, I'm going to turn this now on high. I didn't want to have it on high before because I didn't want to burn our garlic. All right? So in this guy, we're going to check our pasta. Thank you, Gabe. That's much better. And the outside feels good. The inside's nice and bouncy. Feels pretty good. Now these guys are really durable. So where other pasta is delicate, they're not. They can sit a little bit in the water. They're pretty durable with that sausage filling. So these are almost ready. I will pull these in maybe about a minute. Now I have all my other ingredients, and so in a second I'm going to put in basically everything else but the rosemary and the olive oil. And then we're going to make the sauce right in the pan. Okay, so Jen, tell me, wait a second.
You got a little short poured on the white. So we figured you should probably have a little bit more red.
Now I feel like a lush, but
Cheers.
that's per normal, so okay. So tell us about this wine.
So this wine is just so fresh and light and gulpable, Jen, that we wanted to make sure you
It
had
is.
plenty in your glass. This is a wine from Antonio Mazanita. So I spoke about his sister Joanna's project earlier with the Mazanita Douro, and she makes wines in the Douro, and he's a consultant, although that's how she'll tell it. Fun sibling rivalry.
Love that.
But truly, truly, his project is in Alentejo, and then we'll finish with another of his wines from the Azores Islands. But for now, speaking of Alentejo, so this is southern central Portugal. It's very warm. It's a lot like kind of the California Central Valley area, so great ripeness, old-fashioned vineyards, field blends. And Antonio's another quite disruptive tradition breaker, I could say. He's worked all over the world in winemaking and then brought a lot of modern theory and philosophy back to Portugal. This is called Touriga Vainua, and Touriga is one of the royal grapes of Portugal. Touriga Nacional is the name of the grape, and it's got these classic sort of strawberry and orange peel notes. And Tariga Vainua is a female reference to royalty, so the queen goes nude. The queen is naked. It's a funny joke with the name because this is 100% Tariga Nacional unoaked. So he harvests early, he does a quick ferment, and then stops it and bottles it. One of Antonio's favorite smells, he's realized over the years, is that smell of Tariga Nacional fermenting in the winery. Just like that bubbly, kind of bombastic, super uplifted, bright, fruity note. And it's something he looks forward to every year. So finally he thought, I want to capture that. I want to make wine that's like naked Tariga Vainua. So here we are.
Let me jump in real quick.
Of course.
So the clams have just opened up, as you saw, and we have this broth. We're going to put our pasta in here now. And then we're going to put all the other ingredients that you have. You have your peppers that we've made our homemade pickle with. We've had our spring onions. And this time of year, we like to do an oven-dried tomato. So we take some tomatoes and we dry them slowly in our oven so the flavor is a little nicer. So we're going to get all this ingredients hot in here. And then when we do finish it, I'm going to finish it with olive oil as opposed to butter. But we'll let this all get hot while you finish telling us about the bombastic aromas of this wine.
I don't think that's technically one of the descriptors, but it just popped into my mind because it is. And so a little bit about the producer. I really urge you guys to look up Antonio Mazanita. He's got a lot of stuff on YouTube. He's done a lot of wine industry interviews, kind of an ongoing thing, especially during COVID. He's been one of our more active personalities, and he's so fascinating to listen to and to talk to, and very charming. So Fita Preta is his project in the Alentejo, and Azores Wine Company is his project on Pico, which we'll finish tonight's dinner with. But yeah, so Tariga Nacional is typically finished under oak. It's most often blended. Everything in Portugal is a blend, right? So this is a really special new frontier, kind of cutting edge, to not only have this grape all by itself, but to have it all by itself and without anything else getting in the way.
This has a lot going on in class for.
I remember that winemaker who was young and energetic and jumping up on barrels and talking to us, and he was just,
I think he got that move from his sister, by the way. She was a gymnast. So she really will run around on the top of the barrels in the winery. But the both of them are just such a fascinating duo.
So I just love how beautiful this looks.
Yes, it does.
You know?
Yeah.
Doesn't this just look gorgeous?
And the smell in the kitchen. So those of you at home will be smelling that just about now.
So I just tasted it. It needs just a touch of salt, but be careful. I think, the clams are natural salinity. And I just drizzled the olive oil in. And then this beautiful dish is just ready to go right here like this.
Watch your nose.
Yeah, watch your
How many times does he burn his nose?
And let's move my wine glass a bit.
The giant wine
And
glass.
then,
We'll hang on to that.
all right, yes, I'm going to hang on to that. If I see Beth come near it,
The
feel
colors.
free to attack her.
The colors are beautiful.
I
Yeah,
know, it's just really pretty.
yeah. So we're going to use it here. Chester. So cute.
He's so optimistic.
Yeah, he's not getting
There
any.
might be something here.
He's not getting any. I'm pretty sure Matthew and Adam are going to take all the stuff they get.
I do want a spoon with this.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Definitely a broth. and spoon. Now, the fried rosemary is here, and that's also a really important component to this dish. I think when you taste that, I just break it up. I fried it for you guys on the stem, but feel free just to kind of smash it in your hands and put a little on here. And so, talk to me.
Do you drop this rosemary into your big fry vat at the
do.
restaurant?
We
Is
do.
there a way a home cook could hack this? Because I think I'm about to be in love with the fried rosemary, but I don't have a big vat to help.
It's the same thing like we did.
The same
thing like we did, yeah. Exactly what we did to that.
I know.
So,
I need
yeah,
one.
definitely serve this with a spoon. This red wine is gonna go fantastic with this. I can't wait for you guys to try this. This is like,
So pretty.
and I had one that made no clams for you. I'm so sorry. I want you to try that. I wanted you to get it.
Oh no, are you allergic to clams?
No, Gabe can't have clams.
Oh,
He's got an allergy, but that's okay.
this is so
And if you guys
pretty.
have allergies at home, we're happy to
Not
work
sure
around
where to
those.
start here.
No, just
I've got my knife,
just
I've
like
got my
get,
spoon, I've got my fork.
I would say scoop out a clam, get a piece of that pasta in there. So I think, a lot of it, what I think linguiça and a lot of sausages, I think Portuguese make some beautiful charcuterie and sausages. It's obviously all that coastline in Portugal. you know, the mussels, the clams, the octopus, all these things. When I think of Portugal, I think of all these things. So here we just wanted to make something bright, because this wine, you know, is beautiful, but it is bright, right?
It is.
So, so what do you guys think?
The tomatoes really brighten it up, and that sausage is this great richness, you know, that really satisfying savory richness.
I think the peppers really play into this really well. The sweet
The
peppers.
sweetness.
Chester wants it.
And the broth is magic. Tell me again what's in the broth.
I will.
Perfect timing, as soon as you take a big bite. That is really, it ties everything
Love
together,
that.
doesn't it?
For the broth.
And the rosemary.
We saute garlic and anchovies. Do you guys it with red wine?
Uh-huh.
Your red wine in the box.
Oh, the La Nevera.
red
Good
wine.
to drink and to cook with.
Yes,
It
and
is.
then we juice fresh tomatoes. So instead of buying a tomato juice that might be thicker, we
Uh-huh.
actually put tomatoes through the juicer. We put tomato juice in it, and then we finish it with cornucobra olive brine. So just the juice from the olives,
Perfect.
and that's what the broth is.
That's using every little
that
piece.
salty
Yep.
fat.
Wow.
So
The
yes,
anchovies.
but what do you
Wow.
think? I think this is a perfect pairing.
It's a
I
beautiful
think it's
drink.
really pretty.
Because there's enough intensity and power here, and then the wine really lifts, but the peppers, like you said, Beth.
They just have a backbone to it, right?
Not really. Again, bright. We keep saying bright, bright, bright. That's what this dish is all about.
But it goes so well with the wine.
And sausage and clams, just
Yeah.
beautiful. What a treat.
I know, I don't even, well, as we continue to enjoy that, I'm gonna talk about the next dish. But you have your tri-tip, and the tri-tip has been sous vide at the restaurant, but to very, very rare. So, it's been partially cooked, so you'll just finish it. We, of course, have had this tempering, so we can sear it in our pan, and we'll put it in the oven, and we'll also put these skewers on there too. And these skewers are really fun, because these are marinated cabbage, and we've taken ginger and garlic and Fresno chilies and chili oil, and we kind of sous vide the cabbage, and then we poached it, and then we put it with roasted shiitakes, and then their sauce is a play on an XO sauce. And an XO sauce is usually a Chinese sauce, and XO from the cognac derivative, extra old, but there's no cognac in an XO sauce, so it is kind of funny. So, but our particular XO sauce has a ton of shiitakes in it, some beautiful Spanish ham, garlic and ginger and chili oil, and gosh, there's so many things, fish sauce, and I don't know, there's 30 ingredients in this. So, so it's a really cool dish. So this steak has been seasoned a little bit for you, but it does need a little bit more salt. So I like to tell people to put a little bit more salt on it. And we are gonna put this in our cast iron pan. Thanks, Gaby, is that a pretty good temperature? Let's see if it needs a little bit more. Yeah. Yeah, so we're gonna put this in our pan. And we are gonna give it a nice sear. And then I'm also gonna put the skewers in here with it. Now, if I had a grill, I would put these on my grill. But that is
Only the skewers or also the steak?
either. You could actually, you could put both on the grill, and that's super nice if you guys wanna get out, because, you know, it might be nice. Well, I don't know, the snowstorm's coming. It might not be nice, but March
Who knows
17th,
what the weather
you
will
never
be
know.
like when you have this.
But both of these things would go nice on the grill.
Would
and
you
then-
put the cast iron on the grill also, or just do grill marks?
No, I'd probably just grill it. Because then I'd want some of that char flavor and that smoke on there. But as I'm cooking here, so I'm gonna give a nice little sear on one side, turn this, and I'm gonna put this in the oven, and then we can talk about the wine while they're going in the oven.
Okay.
Appropriate for
Appropriate for, thank you.
Appropriate form. So, wow, okay, so this wine is such a, all of the wines have been a treat, but this wine is such a treat for us to bring you. And for those of you drinking this at home, I really want to encourage you to take this wine and decant it or aerate it in any way that you're able. It's a big wine, and it's a pretty young wine, and it will get more and more generous the more it sees oxygen. So we did a little decant earlier and then just put it back in the bottle so you all could see the beautiful, super modern bottle. But this is Gisto Indi from Luis Seabra, who is another rock star winemaker out of Portugal. He's Also very, very active on social and YouTube and interviews, and a fascinating individual to listen to, speaks excellent English and loves educating people about this. He's been in the business for decades. You seem like you're about to ask a question.
Awesome. Nope.
Oh,
just if I don't have a decanter at home, this is a really big
Oh,
one.
so what do you use if you don't have a decanter?
Yeah.
So I have a water pitcher that I love to use because it has a great spout. And it just makes it easy to pour straight from the water pitcher. It doesn't matter. We talk about wine glasses and being important to drink from a nice glass. That's true because of the shape of the glass and the thinness of the lip and the way that it's going to impact the flavor. But pouring out of my plastic water jug at home into a nice glass is just fine. Because the point of putting it into a larger vessel is simple.
Okay, sorry about that. That's just Chester.
Somebody's
Aeration.
walking past the house.
Yes.
Is simply to get oxygen into it so that it helps the wine sort of shake out those wrinkles and lose the nerves and open up and become more expressive and fruity. So, little pro tip, you can use anything. Make sure it's clean, not full of dust or something else. And then just, but if you don't have a decanter, honestly, pour a glass and let it sit for a little while.
Glass to glass.
This is not very fancy, but you can put the cork back in and shake up the bottle a little bit.
Yeah.
I hope Louise Sabra's not watching
Don't
me
do
say
it in
this,
the restaurant. Don't do that in the restaurant.
But you just want to oxygen. I tell a joke sometimes, like you could put this wine in a blender and it would help because you just want to aerate the wine.
But don't put it in a blender, people.
Don't put it in. Our blenders are rarely clean enough. Yeah, glass to glass.
And,
It's much more
and I
sophisticated.
think it's super fun to see how the wine changes because it will
It
be
is.
noticeable.
It is. And enjoy it over the course of time, right? So pour a glass. At the beginning, when we should have said this in the beginning of the video, we pour a glass when we start.
Yes.
And you can revisit it every, 10, 15, 20 minutes while you're having another glass of something else.
Yeah.
Let's not be barbarians. You'll be drinking something else on the side also. But revisit it and you'll see it becomes more open. So you can really smell a lot of what the flavors are going to be. And it'll join, the flavors will join the aromas in your palate and it'll be beautiful. But to tell you about the actual wine,
And I'm going to turn this one.
Indy Xisto is Luis Seabra's it's a whole new project he's been doing. He's been the head winemaker at Neaport for years and years and years. A very, very well-known and prestigious, well-respected port house in the Douro. So he knows the vineyards of the Douro very well. However, when you're making port, you have a specific house style. So you've got to make wine kind of by a recipe. You want it to be the same every year.
So the Neaport port always has certain characteristics.
Well, every port,
Sandeman.
Taylor's will, Sandeman, exactly, because they make wine as certain. They have the specific criteria for their ingredients and their process and their final product, just like you with your signature dishes. The thing is, it wasn't his process, and he sort of got a little itchy and began brainstorming and wouldn't it be cool if, and had all these hypotheses, but was never able to explore them. Finally, he said, I'm doing my own thing. So Indy, he's independent, he's on his own.
Nice.
He makes a whole series of wines in the Douro from vineyards he's been familiar with for a long time, but he always seeks out Xisto. So Xisto stands for schist.
Ah, this type of soil, right? Okay.
And we have schist, we have slate, we have shale. If we're talking about sedimentary rocks, there's this whole metamorphosis process that happens, but really, and in Portuguese, this term is sort of interchangeable with all those various processes, but really, it's mud that's compressed and becomes rock and various forms of hardness in the rock. So these vines are only growing in schistose soils, and that schist, we always talk about mineral coming through in wines, is the main uniting factor for all of these particular wines from Luis Seabra. So this is all in blue schisto. Blue slate. In the Douro you have red slate, you have yellow slate, you have green slate, you have blue slate from the minerals that are in the soil. And they do have different flavor components. So Luis is doing this beautiful exploration of purity, but focusing specifically on the soil. The wines are always a blend, everything's a blend, but he's really interested in this exercise of soils.
It'd be fun tasting.
Yes, and powerful, because we're in the Douro, remember, so heat and intensity and port wine traditionally, so lots to talk about
the
here.
winemaker that we saw in Portugal that was putting his wine in the ocean so not getting air, who was that?
That was a different winemaker. That was in
That's
Spain,
so
and
cool.
his name is Raul Perez.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
You've
Raul.
named Ultreya after
yeah,
one of
that's
his
right.
wines. Yeah, and he's also a really cool winemaker,
Right.
pushing barriers and
Yeah.
trying out new things. Yes.
Yeah, literally dumping it in the ocean, which I think is amazing.
One time I got to scuba dive and bring up some
Oh.
bottles.
I think that would be so cool.
It
was
was
so cool.
cool.
We couldn't even go out there. when
All
we
right,
were there,
so we
remember?
have our steak. It has a nice sear, and we have our little cabbage skewers. And the plating on this course is very simple, but all the work has been done at the restaurant ahead of time for you guys. So I think you guys are gonna love this.
Wow.
And all this has been done ahead of time. So this is a black garlic sauce, and fermented black garlic. They slowly heat the garlic, and it gets this beautiful flavor. And we have made it into this light sauce. So again, I'm just going to put a nice dollop on the plate here. It has a strong flavor, but it's very umami characteristic, and I think with this wine, this will be fantastic. We're going to put the skewer on the plate next to it. Okay. And then what we're going to do is slice our steak. And you can see the grains on the steak. You want to always slice against the grain. So any steak, forever and ever, you want to slice against the grain, okay? And that's going to help it not be tough. Okay, so I'm going to shingle these pieces on here.
It's beautiful.
And then we're going to slice this other guy. I'll put, and let's see. This,
That black garlic sauce looks like chocolate on a plate.
it
It's
does,
so-
doesn't it?
It's one of my
beautiful.
favorites.
It's one of your
I love
favorites.
black garlic. I think it's just so fun.
Do
the
you
flavor.
ferment the garlic, or do
No,
you buy
we buy
it
it.
fermented?
We buy it
Actually,
fermented.
a Maillard process. So
Ah.
it's put in like clay pots out in the sun, and it's slowly over a long period of time, amino acids and natural sugars react, which is called the Maillard effect or reaction, creating all these caramelizing flavors. So you'll get notes of balsamic, coffee, chocolate, really caramelized onion, garlic.
Beautiful. Wow, there's so much
Mhm.
chemistry in this too.
Yeah.
I love that, and there's in winemaking as well. That's why it's so much fun. It's one of many reasons it's so much fun to do wine and food together.
It is, and they're meant to be together, obviously.
They are.
So. it's
And
not
this is the
quite it.
XO.
And this is the XO sauce. So, and I put a little bit of that Malden salt on the steak, and then that is it. So,
Right.
simple to put down, not simple necessarily our end to make, but I think you'll taste the love and you'll taste all the intricacy. And I can't wait to get it with this wine and to go there. And I would say at home, just take that off the skewer at home, so you're not struggling. Just take it off the skewer at home. You know what I mean?
Presentation.
Yeah, once your presentation is done, feel free to just, go big.
So good. Can I just say that for the home cooks, seeing her cook this on 2 skewers is a revelation.
Yeah.
Like
you're trying to put it all on
spin.
Yeah.
The second one holds it in place.
At home, you guys, if you're having trouble with your brochettes and your skewers, please put 2 on there. Don't just put 1 on there.
That's such a brilliant solution.
Yeah, it's so easy, right? It's so easy, yeah.
But I've never thought of it.
Yeah.
So, again,
Right.
tips from Chef Jen.
Yeah, well, tips from Chef Jen. Come on, I've been doing this
That's why
how
we do it.
flipping long.
I think I sense another cookbook.
Okay, good.
Please,
Okay,
pretty please.
Yes. All right, so let us know how this guy tastes. Hopefully this
Oh, yeah.
tastes amazing. Yeah, and you got a
It
shiitake and everything in there.
I love the cabbage. Clay.
Good. Yeah, the cabbage is really integral to the dish. So, what do you guys think? Abby, you gotta tell me. I need instant gratification.
Oh wow.
Gabe talking about balsamic. That's just
Mhm.
jumping out
Right?
at me.
There's no balsamic in here,
No.
right?
Mm. And really, truly, like the way that balsamic almost has this sort of dark sweetness to it.
Mhm.
That's what's coming out, and it's beautiful with the cabbage, with the mushrooms, with the tri-tip. What a gorgeous dish.
And it does bring
That
the fruits
XO.
back out in here, doesn't it?
It does. And the XO with those little nibbles of, did you say jamon is in there?
Yes,
So
yes.
Mangalica.
Mangalica, hamon, like a really nice
Wow.
This
mangalica.
is really fun.
What a treat.
Yeah.
There's so much going on. I love it.
Well, so Gabe and I love this dish so much. It's going on the menu at Rioja in a few every day.
Is it?
Yeah.
Another winner.
Yeah.
I love every few dinners, or kind of every dinner, really.
Oh yeah,
Right? We say we love this dish so much. It's
Yeah.
going on the menu at Rio.
Yeah. Well, and that clam with linguiça, I could eat that pasta every day. I could eat that darn pasta. So,
Yeah.
well, it's just one of my favorite things.
If you make it every day, you let me know and I'll come
Yeah.
with some too.
Okay, now while you guys are enjoying that, I'm gonna talk about the dessert.
Yeah.
Just because I like talking about desserts.
Yes. I would never have thought about cabbage with this.
Yeah. Well, you know, sometimes you just gotta look.
Sometimes
Be
it
crazy.
just works.
Just be crazy. Okay, so for dessert, and again, it is, well, not today, but it's March 17th, the dinner. I think today's the 10th or 11th, and rhubarb has come into season, so we're really excited about springtime and rhubarb. And so we kind of made a dessert wrapped around this, and we went back to a rosé for dessert. So kind of something we haven't done, but
Yes,
we thought
right.
that would be really fun to go back to a rosé. Thank you. And so my pastry chef Eric has made some caramelized puff pastry pinwheels here.
I have to say, there's a very traditional, when you travel in Spain and Portugal, a lot of the hotels will have a little breakfast bar, kind of continental breakfast style. These pinwheel pastries are very, very common to spot on those breakfast bars. So you're taking me back.
Yes, and in France too, they make palmiers very similar. So it's a very similar type of aspect here.
I like
But-
your ratio here.
Yes.
Pastries to the pastry.
This is a Bavarian of sweet whipped goat cheese
Oh my.
with rhubarb and cream, and we've kind of just whipped that up. I know that sounds crazy, but we have done that. Well, because we're crazy people. And then we have some macerated strawberries that we're gonna put on here on top. And there is a little bit of basil in these strawberries. And then Gabe has some basil ice cream in there. And Eric, our pastry chef, made this beautiful basil ice cream. So I'm gonna put the rhubarb in the center here. Again, complicated for us, not complicated hopefully for you guys at home. And feel free to put a few little droplets of sauce on the side of a plate.
Everybody gets that little dropper?
Yes.
Oh. So
And then we'll put a little spoon on there. Gabe is making it into something pretty because Gabe's amazing. And we're gonna put this on here. And this will be the last course for our little dinner tonight. And but tell us about this wine while Gabe is getting the ice cream ready.
Sure. Well, this is our Rose Volcanico. So I mentioned before, Antonio Mazanita doing some fun stuff on Pico, which is an island in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. And you can see, we'll zoom in here. Here's New York, and here is Lisbon, and right in the middle, just over the S, is the Azores Islands. So a volcanic chain of islands. Imagine Hawaii, but in the Atlantic and fewer pineapples. And they had a huge winemaking industry way back in the day, before phylloxera, before powdery mildew, and in the matter of years, they were completely wiped out. A huge flight from the islands because their vineyards had been ruined by a few things that we spoke about during these dinner series before, one being phylloxera, which was a root louse that just destroyed vineyards all around the world. Came from America. Yeah, no, they're not good. It ruins the vineyards, but they're rebuilding very, very slowly, as you can tell. It's been a century. And Antonio was one of the first to replant and really get things up and going there again. Antonio has parents from Alentejo and the Azores, so it was a natural thing that he wanted to kind of pursue winemaking, especially since there's a history of winemaking in both these places. You can tell he was one of the forefathers in the Azores because he named his company Azores Wine Company.
Okay.
There you go.
Nobody else was Azores Wine Company, so
Yes.
he was one of the earlier guys. But this is a blend of red and white grapes that grow on Pico. We are very, very coastal, as you can imagine. Often the island wears a hat, they say, because it's a big volcanic island in the middle of cold water. And on a warm day, the thermal integral, the shift between humidity and the cool water and the warmth of the inland creates this cloud. I know, isn't it cool? Creates this cloud that sits on the top of the island. So they say the island wears a hat. But that cloud is thick and it shades anything inland.
Ah.
So the best wines must be made where you can hear the crabs singing, as Antonio likes to say.
Okay, you hear the crabs singing.
Okay.
But literally way out by the breakers. And so
Oh.
they built these corrais, which are these tiny little, they're sort of hip-height compartments, I suppose, almost as big as this, Jen. They're small, and there'll be a couple of vines in there, but
Okay.
these walls are built up in sort of a honeycomb pattern all around a few vines to protect from the salt spray.
Really?
Because-
Oh, really?
So that's how close they are.
That's so
That's
interesting.
amazing.
They're
I love
in the
that.
middle of these huge swells that
Wow.
then become the 100-foot waves in Lisbon.
Oh my
They have
gosh.
to go through the Azores first. So you have these tiny little vines that are very low to the ground and surrounded by walls in order to protect them from being burned by the salt spray. So you literally
Wow.
hear the crabs singing, and Antonio has a lot of videos where he's sort of like walking across these things and from the ocean and then points at a vine. That's where this
That
comes
is
from.
so crazy.
So talk about saline.
Yeah, I didn't think about like the salt and how
Yes.
obviously that would.
So I'm thinking, without even tasting, the
Wow.
strawberries, the basil, the rhubarb, and this beautiful cheesy thing, not to mention
I know.
gorgeous pastry and ice cream. I mean, this sounds perfect. But I love that you're touching on some savory hints here too.
Yes.
One of my favorite times of year is with rhubarb and strawberries and all that fun stuff. And I think it's gonna go amazing with this delicious one.
Mm.
I'm gonna have to get the
Get in there,
little
yeah.
bite going on.
I think,
Some
yeah,
of the sauce.
I know with rosé I do love goat cheese, so a lot of times it just goes so well. And just have that strawberry type of essence. So
Mm-hmm.
that basil ice cream though is really creamy with it. And you know, I like this dessert because it's not super sweet, Beth. It's got a little savory tones to it, you know? Like I think in general my personal taste is a little more savory dessert. Not like salty, but I'm not a super sweet dessert person just in general, so
This is like perfect for me.
Yeah, I
It
love
doesn't
that
matter
kinda-
sweetness because clearly I love the sweet.
yeah.
With the wine, that would usually be it, but I love the play on it. Because super chocolatey and things like that are.
Well, I hope people had fun learning about Portuguese wine tonight, because I know I do. I love all the stories that you tell.
Thanks.
I still count all of my witnesses out there. We still need to go back to Portugal, okay? So we have witnesses.
Jen,
we
we
have
will.
witnesses, okay?
We will.
Well, I hope everybody at home has had a great time, and I hope the food has come out fantastic. I hope you join us again next month in April. We're doing a sake dinner, so really fun. I'm hoping that you're just gonna enjoy it. Come, because you've been
Come to
everyone,
the
so you have to
classes.
come to the dinner.
I'm afraid I can't contribute much to knowledge.
but that's
for
okay.
sake,
So maybe you can talk about the pairing.
Well, I could just
We'll
come
play
and
with
hang
it.
out.
Yeah, come and hang out.
I can talk about
But the
pairing.
sake dinner
Sure.
is going to be really fun and a bit of a departure from our typical ones, but I hope you join us for the sake dinner, and that is April 21st or virtually around that week. Anyways, we want to thank you so much from our Rioja and Crafted Concepts family, and I hope you had a great night. Thank you guys.
So,
And
cheers.
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 you.
Thanks
Cheers.
for joining us.
Yes.